My name is Jos van Veldhoven and I will conduct a very special concert on January 30th in Sumida Trifani Hall in Tokyo. It's a very special program, and we gave it the special name Mozart in Love with Handel and Bach. And let me explain what kind of a program you could expect and how we gave this special name to this program. Well, to understand it, we have to go back to the year 1781, the year where Mozart moved to Vienna to live there as a young composer. And very soon after his arrival, he was meeting a very special man, Gottfried van Swieten, a baron, and he was imperial court librarian. But what was even more special, he had a personal collection of manuscripts and copies of manuscripts of composers from the past, especially manuscripts from Bach and Handel. And you have to know that in 1781 nobody was anymore playing the music of Bach and Handel, and even Mozart and other composers didn't know all the famous music we do know now. So when Mozart met this man, Gottfried van Swieten, it was very exciting for him because he knew the composer Johann Sebastian Bach and George Frederick Handel, but never heard or studied their music. So he was invited to weekly sessions in the palace, in the Hofburg in Vienna, where composers and scholars and musicians came together to study these old manuscripts and to perform from them. And Mozart was flabbergasted. He was full of impressions and the music didn't leave his head anymore. And he was writing to his father that he only was thinking on Handel and Bach. And it was clear that he found an enormous treasure in the works by these composers. And that is exactly the time, now we're speaking about 1782, this is exactly the time that Mozart writes his own great mass in C minor, the famous great mass. Maybe you know the beautiful Et Incarnatus Est, or the fabulous beginning of the Mass, the Kyrie, or the great virtuous duos and terzetti and quartettos in the Mass. It's an astonishing piece. But this Mass is full of ideas not coming from Mozart himself, but coming from Handel and Bach. He was so full of these Baroque composers that he used elements from the works he learned in his own new Mass in C minor. And, for example, in the concert, you will hear the Alleluia von Handel, but also Mozart used this Hallelujah for Messiah as a quotation in the Gloria. You will hear the Crucifixus from the B minor Mass, but also Mozart used elements of this Crucifixus in the Gloria. You will hear the double choir singing in the Hosanna in the Mozart's Mass, but it's very similar and influenced by the double choirs, the two choirs singing in Bach's Hosanna in the Mass in B minor. That is the reason we gave the program the title Mozart in Love with Handel and Bach. You could call it love because it's so clear that Mozart was influenced by it, took all kinds of ideas from it. I didn't tell you yet that the great Mass of Mozart was incomplete. He never completed the piece. It's a pity because suppose Mozart had completed the piece, we had a Mass like the Missa Solemnis of Beethoven or the Mass in B minor of Bach. But he stopped in the middle of the Credo after the beautiful Et Incarnatus Est, and he didn't write an Agnus Dei. well, what can you do? Only performing the music which is left is already fantastic. Some people take movements from other masses to complete the mass, but in this case, I've taken the original music of Handel and Bach, which was of so much influence on Mozart when he wrote his mass. So you will hear the original piece from Israel in Egypt, the oratorio of Handel. You will hear the crucifixes from the B minor mass, but you also will hear the influence this music had in Mozart's mass in C minor. Well, Mozart in love with Handel and Bach. It was not the only love, I have to admit, because in the same year, 1782, Mozart married his wife Constanze, and I guess he must have been also in love with Constanze. Some people do believe that Mozart wrote his mass for his new wife, and they certainly performed parts of the mass when they a year later went to Salzburg to Mozart to present his new wife, but Mozart never completed the mass. We don't know why, but anyway, you will hear this program with music of Mozart, great music of Mozart, and Handel and Bach, music what was of direct influence on this mass, and I'm sure you will love it. So I hope to see you all in Sumida Hall, Trifany Hall in Tokyo on the 30th of January 2026, and I'm sure you will love the program.